I will say one thing. I think that the days of being punished for your opinion are going to end, and they're going to end sooner rather than later. And the reason for that is not because of the kindness of the left. It's because we are going to segregate politically. And it's a really bad thing for the country, but it's just an inevitable reality. Eventually, what's going to happen is that if you're an accountant at a firm and you fail to post the black square and are thus chided for it, and you say, listen, I believe that Black Lives Matter because they do, but I'm not going to virtue signal about how cops are bad. That's just not something I'm into. And then they fire you. What will end up happening is that you will end up starting your own firm, and conservatives will recognize that you stood on principle, and conservatives will then patronize you. And what will end up happening is that the only people who will end up patronizing leftist causes are leftists, and the only people who end up patronizing right-wing causes are right-wingers, and you will end up with two separate companies for each element of the market, because that's what the left is doing. They've taken the war to all elements of American society. It's a really ugly outcome, because this is not how conservatives think. I have never once, buying a pair of shoes, thought to myself, I wonder what the political convictions of the person who runs this company are. But leftists have made it an element of faith that you must actually think about that, because the externalities of you buying that pair of shoes may be keeping the environment in shambles or something like that. It's become a religion. I mean, it's a religion for the left. And once you have a religious schism, the religious schism cannot be unmade. I mean, ask Knowles, who's been trying to unmake the religious schism for several hundred years at this point.
No, this is such a good point, Ben. This is what the left did in the 60s and 70s. It became their motto, especially the feminists, but it spread out broadly to the left. They said, the personal is the political, meaning every area of personal association now has got to be politicized and become ideological. And a republic such as ours cannot persist as it is meant to exist in that condition. You're supposed to have a separation between the public, the political, and the private and the personal. With that obliterated, our system of government and our system of society is not going to continue to function as it was intended.
Yeah, for this reason, I feel that we should, as Matt Walsh said in a tweet this week, we should do away with the public apology, in particular for private citizens engaged in private activities. When that woman in Central Park who had her dog walking off leash, you'll remember, and then the black fellow with the cell phone came up and offered her dog a treat, and they got into an altercation. And the woman said, I'm going to call the police. He said, call them, please. And she said, I'm going to tell them an African-American man is threatening me. And implicit in that, obviously, is the belief that the police would take disproportionate force against him on the basis of his race. So she was making a threat on the basis of his race. That is a despicable thing that woman did. I should not know about it. It was a private interaction between two private citizens. She made a public apology. She owes me no apology. She does owe an apology to someone. It is none of us. She owes none of us anything, and we shouldn't even know about it happening. We live in an era where private citizens make public apologies. Public people, politicians who have constituents, athletes who have fans, or celebrities who have fans making public apologies. In some instances, I can understand that. If you live your life in a public way, there are certain responsibilities that come along with that. But for private individuals to make public apologies for private actions, that is a religious act of sacrifice to the God of the mob, and you absolutely should not take part in it. You should never apologize for anything that you didn't actually do. You should never apologize for things that people did in the past, or things that worse men than you may have done in the present. And you should never apologize for anything unless you feel genuine remorse for your action. And you should never apologize to anyone other than to the people whom you actually hurt. And by the way, when I say remorse for the action, I don't mean remorse for the consequences of the action to yourself. I don't mean you apologize because you did something bad and lost your job, and you're sorry you lost your job. I mean, you should only apologize when you're sorry that you did the bad thing, regardless of whether or not you lost your job. That's the only kind of apology that is an actual apology. And it's the only kind of apology that you should ever make as an honest person. Never be bullied into any other form of apology, especially the most virtue signaling false kind of all, which is where you just apologize to the God of the angry masses. Yeah. Don't do it. Hey guys, sharing is caring. And unless you want your friends watching another lame YouTube video about celebrities celebrifying something, you gotta press the share button. They'll thank you for it. See you next time.